Yeah.
Well, hi guys, welcome to Without a Country. Oh, there you go. My headphones were off, and you just realized it.
Your mic was off.
Or that, whatever it is. All right. So, hello, welcome to Without a Country. I am Corinne Fisher. Thank you so much for being here. I mean, I got to tell you, the show's a lot less fun for me in this studio because I can't see myself in the screen, which was really the highlight of doing Without a Country in the other studio. I'm like Darla from The Little Rascals. I can't stop looking at myself. It was great. Anyway, welcome to the show. I'm Corinne Fisher. I am a former mayoral candidate, New York City 2025. I am a stand up comedian, a podcaster, and I'm an everyday person just like you. And that's how we're going to take in the news. It's been too long that people on the left who have Ivy League educations, no political and legal jargon, have been serving you the news like you're a freaking dumbass. And guess what? I'm a dumbass just like you, and we're going to learn the news together. And we don't need these Ivy League people telling us what to do. There is an Ivy League graduate in the room, but she's just here to let us know, if we really mess something up or really misunderstand a word. And that's the safety that we have. So it's been a long day. I actually personally just came back from the Tax the Rich takeover in Albany. Crystal and I went. It was super, I was going to say super fun. I don't know if that's the word. It was interesting. I hadn't been to Albany, New York since last February when I went to the caucus when I was running for mayor. And, that was pretty torturous, I will say. That was my first real immersion into a sea of elected officials, and it was hard to digest. This one I would say was a step up because this was more activists, constituents. I was there as a creator. This is, they've called me in. Politics has called me in now. Now that I'm not running for office, they're very interested in me, and that just shows how desperate they are in this game for people who think outside the box. And my theory is, well, what if you actually elected someone who thinks outside the box? I mean, I think there are some people like that around the country. Zoran Mamdani being one, Brandon M. Scott in Baltimore being another. But I don't think there's a plethora of people who are actually elected officials who are thinking outside the box. And I think the longer that people are in office, and certainly the higher they rise, the less likely they are, unfortunately, to think outside the box. I actually am going to say Donald Trump does think outside the box, but it's outside the box in another box where we don't want to be in that box. It's a like, like the box in your mind where you think the worst, meanest things about people and wish them ill. That's the box that he's creating policy in. And we don't want to be in that box. But anyway, I just want to go over what's happening a little bit because I know a lot of people are watching municipal politics in New York. And, Zoran Mamdani did run on taxing the rich, but it was always clear, and a lot of people gave him criticism for this, that Governor Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, would have to give him clearance. But that would be the case for almost anything a mayor is going to do. Again, which is why I keep saying not that crazy for kind of just anyone to run for mayor because you don't have that much power. You're the face of the city. You need to be a motivator. You need to be a mobilizer. And you need to be someone with creative ideas. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the backing of Albany and the governor to do those things, they are not going to happen. Outside the New York City Police Department and the education system, really not that much pull for the mayor of New York City, even though it is a large role. So what's going on right now? This is the moment. This is the moment that we are in. And again, I went up there with Dream because I had been working with Dream, as you know, the anti-Andrew Cuomo interest group. But it was also co-sponsored, I guess would be the proper word, by the Democratic Socialists of America. I'm not in the DSA. I don't think I'll ever be in the DSA. But I like to work in conjunction with them. You know, my feelings, they're a little culty. I feel like they really turn their backs pretty quickly on people who disagree even a little bit with them. So don't love that. But overall, a lot of the policy and ideas and things that they want, I do agree with. So fine to be at an event that they are on board with. It was hosted by City Council member Chio Say, who, if you follow local politics, especially in New York City, he is, I would say, that the most famous city council member in New York City. He has a real excellent grasp of social media, and I think he will, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he's mayor one day, quite frankly. So this is what it says. It says the moment the average New Yorker spends over half of our income on rent, childcare costs more than college, families who have lived here for generations are forced out because they can't afford to stay. Last year, Donald Trump gave the billionaire class an obscene tax break while cutting critical health care and food assistance that millions of New Yorkers rely on. To top it all off, New York City faces a $5 billion budget gap that threatens the programs and public goods that make this city what it is. Over 1 million New Yorkers voted for Mamdani's affordability agenda. We're not taking this lying down. Governor Hochul has a choice: deliver on the affordability agenda by making the rich pay what they owe, or inflict painful budget cuts and tax hikes on everyday New Yorkers. We're here in Albany, workers, parents, artists, grassroots community leaders, and our allies in elected office to demand that Governor Hochul prioritize the lives and dignity of working New Yorkers over the windfall profits of billionaires and massive corporations. This is also my internal assets packet. They were being very secretive about it. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be reading this on air, but don't send a big, loud stand-up comedian something if you don't want it read on air. I wasn't supposed to disclose like addresses or anything. Obviously, that's like for personal safety, but I think this is okay. This is important. We need to be sharing this information. And what we're fighting for: universal childcare so parents can work, rest, and raise families without going broke, permanently affordable housing so tenants can stay in their homes. There's a problem with a lot of people who have been in New York City housing, especially as they become elderly, who things change and they end up getting, pushed out of their home that they've known for decades and decades when they're 70 years old, which is absolutely crazy. Fast and free buses so working New Yorkers can get where they need to go, and fully funded public goods that serve the many, not profits for the few. And this is interesting because I've always had a bit of a problem with certainly eat the rich and tax the rich. Once it was very clear what tax the rich actually meant, which I think took a long time for people to understand. And to be honest, I think most people still don't understand it. I don't think the branding is good. I even brought this up with, people behind the scenes that I was like, listen, I agree with the concept of tax the rich when it is explained to me, once I read all the materials, once it was very clear what it meant. It's not a war on the rich. It's not extra taxes for the rich. It's literally the rich for most times are getting tax cuts and tax breaks that regular people aren't. So like middle class is paying X percentage of their earnings to the government as part of their taxes, and billionaires and people who, not just billionaires, but there are I believe it's over 123 or between 123 and 126, something in that range, billionaires that live in New York. And people who, we're talking about people whose yearly income is over $1 million. These people, especially as it gets higher and higher, are enjoying these really, really hefty tax breaks. Obviously, this behooves elected officials because if they get tax breaks, I'm sure they get more donations to their campaigns. You scratch, my back, I'll scratch yours type mentality. So just to be clear, tax the rich is literally simply asking billionaires and multimillionaires to pay the percentage of taxes that makes sense, that is fair and right for their earnings. And I think that's really unclear in the messaging. Again, at this point, because tax the rich has been around so long, it is not going to go away, is basically what it was explained to me by all these groups. But I am not the only one behind the scenes, out of activist politicians who has complained about tax the rich messaging being really unclear and not completely aligning or explaining it is to the people what it is. Like, it's hard to get people on board for something if it takes so much explaining to what we're actually trying to do. Because again, we'll be at these things, we'll be chanting, it'll kind of, we're like, one of the chants today was, hey ho, billionaires have got to go. And like, what are we fight? What are we, again, it's like, can we get on topic? What is it that we're here for? We're here to make people who are rich pay the same percentage that everyone else is paying. I think that's a really fair ask, and that's not an attack on anyone. But then when we go into this territory in a capitalist country, when we're saying billionaires have got to go, we're basically now going into this thing where billionaires cannot even exist. And I'm like, I actually don't even care right now if billionaires exist. If, yes, I want them to be charitable, and yes, I want their billions to have come to them in an ethical way. Is that possible? Probably not. But if all those things were true, if you were able to somehow pay the people who got you to billionaire status fair wages, and you were not doing anything to harm the environment or kill people and whatever, you created some product, maybe it was life-saving or something that somehow made you a billionaire ethically, then I would totally not be against it. And again, capitalist society, I am not against wanting to be rich. That's not my goal, but I'm not against it. I would like to be rich just so I could do a ton of philanthropy and stop listening to everyone complain about what billionaires are. I would like to be a billionaire, honestly, so I could stop listening to people complain about what billionaires are doing with money. And I would really try to do a lot of good things with it. But then I still know that they would find a way to complain about it. So anyway, that's what it is. Again, I think it's good, but I think it involves too much explanation. Anyway, I'm going to be doing a lot with Tax the Rich over the next couple of weeks because we really have to put pressure on Kathy Hochul. As Crystal pointed out, she wasn't even in Albany today. She was actually in New York City when all the New York City people were in Albany, but apparently, that schedule is only released about 2 or 3 days ahead of time. So it was, in my opinion, Kathy Hochul saw the advertisements for the Tax the Rich Albany takeover, and she said, you know what, I'm going to be in New York City this day, and I think that's planned. But that's what's going on right now. Kathy Hochul's also up for re-election pretty soon. And it just seems to me, especially with this historic win for Zoran Mamdani, it seems weird to me that she would not be getting behind this. But I guess, she is looking to the future when she is going to need more donations for future campaigns. I don't know what her future political aspirations are. I don't know if Kathy Hochul's trying to be the first woman president. I don't know what's going on. But obviously she wants to keep scratching the backs of her wealthy friends, many of whom also, and this was a talking point that people were, really loving, many of whom also have Epstein ties. So, not great. Not great. But it seems like anyone at a certain level of wealth apparently has Epstein ties. And so that's that. Again, I think it's just we need a lot more clarity on the left. We need to be succinct. We need to have clarity. And I was on a call with the head of Disrupt. Disrupt is the liberal or the leftist answer to Turning Point. And I've talked about it on this show here before. And this is not his quote, but he passed along a quote when he was trying to explain to me the mission of Disrupt, which is super aligned with Without a Country. And I think his name is Carlos. Him and I are going to be working together a lot in the future. We just connected literally yesterday for the first time, or maybe 2 days ago. And he said to me, he definitely wants to just get people more on board with equality, basically, for people in America. And he said the right is concentrates on finding converts, and the left is always looking for traitors. And again, that's not his quote. I can't remember who it was from, but it was someone who works in politics. And when he said to me, the right is always looking for converts, the left is always looking for traitors, I have never heard such a succinct and correct assessment of what is going on in politics right now. And that really summed up all the complaints I have, you know, just like the nitpicking, the infighting, the eating our own on the left, whereas the right has really concentrated on simple, clear branding. Even if that branding may be hate and only think about yourself, it's been clear. I'll give them that. It's been clear and it's worked. They've gotten so many more people on their side. So hopefully you guys can remember that. You can take that into your own heart when we're attacking people online who we have known for decades, who we know 90% we align with. Maybe that is not the enemy. I know sometimes that feels like the easier enemy to attack because we have more access to them. And I think a lot of times people on the left are easier to attack because they're more responsive to the attacks, because they actually care, whereas people on the right kind of go, yeah, put another feather in my villain cap and love it. And you know what? Maybe we should start just loving being villains more on the left. I don't agree with that. Like, I don't want to be a villain, but that is what it pushes people to be villains. And there have been so many people who used to be good leftists, in quotes, because I don't really fully believe in humanity being good or bad, but who then go on and basically end up revolting against the left by being villains on the right. And we don't want that. Again, my stance, very aligned with Carlos at Disrupt. I was so pleasantly surprised because I just wasn't sure. Again, he's very young. I think he's like 28 years old. And so I was like, let's see if our millennial and Gen Z attitudes can align. And when he, said this thing about like, we're really trying to get anyone, we're not being judgmental about what political party you came from. I'm like, that's been what I'm trying to say. Please, you are welcome to join the left. We would like you. Please come. We're happy to have you. Yeah, more from that will definitely be happening. All right, let's move on. Also, Pagent to the People recap. Oh my God, it's been a crazy week. I'm barely awake. We drove to and from Albany, which is a 3-hour trip each way from New York City. And I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning to make it. We literally parked the car outside the studio from Albany. Shout out to Crystal for driving all that way. And we sat down and immediately started getting ready for Without a Country. So if I say anything groggy or that doesn't make sense, it's because my synapses have, not firing as well. I also did my 38 hours of travel from Tucson, Arizona back to New York City in a blizzard this weekend to bring the people of Tucson, Arizona Pagent to the People. I gotta say, well worth it. Number one, because I experienced my first ever sleeper car on an Amtrak train, on a 19 and a half Amtrak train from Atlanta, Georgia to New York City. And it was incredible. If you ever have the opportunity, do it. I feel like a lot of times we convince ourselves that we don't have time to do things, and then we spend 5 hours scrolling on Instagram, and it's like, you probably did have the time. You probably did have the time to do whatever the fuck it is that you wanted to do. So there's that. And then, the Pagent to the People, I think for a first show of a new concept in a place that I've never been, with 3 elected officials who I had never before met, me basically hosting and running the show in unison, I think it went really well. The Pima Democrats, they definitely, I could tell, were very happy. The head of the Pima Democrats told me it was, the most innovative political event he had been a part of in his career, which was like very nice. I definitely have notes for myself and tweaks. One of my number one tweaks, and I should have known this. But politicians, when given a mic, must always also be given a timer. That is no questions. As I was on stage hosting it, like, I felt it would be rude, like, after the first, like if I started it with no timer and then all of a sudden like whipped out a timer. But we absolutely have to have a timer, which is silly because again, for every mayoral forum that I was a part of, I also had a timer. And yeah, that needs to happen. But it was great. And, I feel like I asked pretty good for a city that I'm not part of. I studied the policy, I think, pretty well. And it seemed like the elected officials were pleasantly surprised with my questions. I think a lot of times when you're going into something as a comedian, they think you're going to either serve them fluff or be dumb, quite frankly. And so I think as I started asking the questions, they kind of, sat up a little bit straighter because they were like, oh, like this is a person who actually understands municipal policy and isn't an idiot. So maybe we have to really take these questions seriously. They weren't acting patronizing or anything. I think they were just honestly surprised. And listen, if I heard some stand-up comedian from New York City who ran for mayor one time was coming to ask me questions, I don't necessarily think that I would maybe take that person too seriously either. But it was nice to do that. I didn't give any of them the questions in advance. I don't believe in that. Even though many times for political events you are given questions in advance, I was like, I'm specifically not doing that so that they can't serve me bullshit. They can't give me some pre-prepared statement. They have, these are things that they should. I wasn't asking them anything crazy or anything controversial. I was just asking them about policy and things that exist in Tucson. And I think they did a great job. I think they were really good sports. After my questions, I handed it off to the constituents. And I was like, in my head, I was like, if you think my questions are hard, the constituent's going to get spicy because these are things that are directly affecting their lives. Handed the mic to the first woman, immediately got, got hot, she was angry, rightly so, about all the homelessness in the town. Not that, she wasn't like, oh man, why are homeless people on my streets? Like, why? She was like, why do these people not have houses? And furthermore, why, when we talk about homelessness, do we seem to only talk about unsheltered homelessness when there's also sheltered homelessness, meaning like you don't have a residency, you are couch surfing, etc. And I would also add on to that, and this is something I see in almost every bigger city that I visit on the road, is a ton of not only a ton of homelessness, a ton of visible drug use. And again, it's not like, oh, I don't want to see drug users. It's like, why is this happening in the country? Like, what are we doing? How do we heal this deeper issue? And so they talked about that at length, and then they all performed their talents. And the mayor of Tucson, shout out Regina Romero, she did roast jokes about Donald Trump, and it was great. And then we had city council member Paul Cunningham rapped. He had previously released a rap with a local rapper. We tried to get the local rapper, who's like pretty like big time there, but he was unavailable. He had another event, but Paul wrote an original rap for the event. It was great. We ended up chanting along with him. It was like, Tucson, yeah, yeah. You can go to his Instagram. He posted it. And then we had council member Miranda Schubert. She is a roller derby gal. I don't know the word, but she did roller derby on stage. It was incredible. She ended up winning Pagent to the People. And I just thought it was really cool. So if you work in local politics right now, USA only, please hit me up. Send me an email, withoutacountrypodcast@gmail.com, if you would like to bring Pagent to the People to a city near you. I think it's really cool. I mean, like, you do have to pay me because I'm like traveling and stuff, but I was doing it for a stipend. I try to keep my rate as low as possible, but I am still like doing work, putting together a show and like taking time away from stand up. So I can't just like donate my time. In fact, I will say I actually donated my time today too, but I still had expenses to go along with it. So I had a little talk with myself today about being too philanthropic because I'm seeing it in my bank account. So like I've donated an excess of time over the past 2 years. So I got to rein it in a little bit and concentrate a little bit more on making money. But I am really passionate about bringing Pagent to the People to a city near you. So again, we'll keep it reasonable. It was very low. I after the Amtrak ticket, I made $0. I definitely lost some money, but Again, I'm more saying this out loud so that I stick to it, because otherwise I'll just keep donating my time. And then maybe I can experience sheltered homelessness when I knock on my boyfriend's door. Okay. Let's see. Well, obviously, we had the good old State of the Union. And I was thinking to myself, it feels like we just had a State of the Union, but that's because Donald Trump did do that other random, like, mid-State of the Union, because he just likes to hear himself talk. So this was the longest State of the Union ever, clocked in at an hour and 48 minutes. If I ever become president, I will be doing an hour and 49 just to stick it to Donald. 100%, no questions asked. Mine will also be more entertaining because I won't just say the same thing over and over again. I mean, you literally are the leader of the free world. You could actually fill an hour and 48 minutes with important content that people need to understand as Americans. But there was a lot of time spent on self-flattery, which, listen, a little self-flattery is fine, but probably not when you're the president and people are getting abducted from the in the streets. And sometimes you make a mistake and it's a U.S. citizen. But anyway, that's, sure, that's neither here nor there. Just a lot of reiterating, a lot of long applause breaks for things that didn't deserve it. A lot of attacks on Democrats. Crystal and I put it on in the car, and we listening in and out. It was not. I got to be honest, Donald. It wasn't your best work. It was not super entertaining. It was hard to listen to. Were there any key moments, Crystal, that stood out to you at all? I don't think she can hear me. She has noise canceling headphones on. And Mike,
she's on a delay, so she'll hear you in.
Oh yeah, and you're saying there's no moments that stood out to you, and then Mike, you said you didn't want. When I asked you if you watched it, you were like, absolutely not.
I said hell.
You said hell no. Okay.
It's an hour and 48 minutes. Like, that guy can't keep a coherent thought together for 15.
I didn't even think it was incoherent. Like I didn't find it. I just found it to be repetitive and full of self-flattery, and then just wild attacks on the Democrats, which I mean, I am not surprised, but it's like, this is not what we need to be doing right now. Just turning everyone against each other. It's really crazy behavior. Well, what did you want to add?
That doesn't seem that crazy. That seems like the playbook for the right and the left for the last 2 decades.
No, I don't remember ever a Democratic president getting up and being like, shame, the way in the childlike way he was doing it.
Sure, because he has no class or tact ever. He's a blunt object, but it's still, calling half the country a basket of deplorables is not exactly bringing the country together.
Well, but we did have a conversation about that as a party, and I think we all agree that was a bad move, and we saw the effects of that. So, again, it's kind of like, that's a thought. That's an inside the head thought for Hillary Clinton, right? I think it's fine that she thinks that, but she can't let that on. Going back to what we talked about earlier in the show, if you want converts, you're never going to get anyone on your side, if they were once a Republican and you refer to them or MAGA as a basket of deplorables. You want to always give people room to be like, you know what? I learned a little more, and I think I want to change my opinion, or perhaps I was wrong about something. You always want to give people the grace to make a change like that. Whereas when you attack people, you push them further and further away and deeper and deeper and deeper into those hateful beliefs that you are trying to, get them away from, because you can't fight hate with hate. That just pushes you farther and farther apart. But anyway,
that literally was in the Epstein files, like a directive. It was Epstein talking to, can't remember who it was, maybe Bannon. I gotta look up exactly who he was talking to. But the idea of like, hey, let's just sow discord amongst all the plebs, get them at each other's throats, get them at war over class issues. Let's donate money to Congress people.
Well, again, it's like, if you didn't know there was a class war going on by now, hopefully them LOLing about it in the Epstein files is going to be the wake up call that you needed.
I'm just saying, it seems like Trump is very much in the bag for that level of elite. So it's like, if their playbook is get people at each other's throats, why wouldn't you constantly be trying to drum up your base to get at the throats of the left? It's the only thing that gets the boomers on his side. Like, they give him a pass for everything because, hey, at least he's not a Democrat.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, and now I guess I just like at this point it has to be our responsibility as constituents to not take the bait anymore. It just absolutely has to be. But I pulled this up. Fox, I said, Fox, bring it home, baby. 5 unforgettable moments from Trump's record-breaking State of the Union address. Trump's lengthy speech featured Al Green's ejection and honors for the Olympic hockey team, heroic troops. This is by Emma Colton, Fox News. President Donald Trump's lengthy State of the Union address Tuesday evening included a handful of attention-grabbing moments that stole the show as the president touted a national turnaround in a speech heavily focused on the economy. Trump's speech beat records, becoming the longest State of the Union speech in modern history at about an hour and 48 minutes. It highlighted his administration's efforts to cut taxes, ease housing costs, and lock down the border as he touted turning a new page for the nation. Can't believe she used touted that close together in the article. Fox News Digital compiled the top 5 moments of the speech, stretching from Democrat outbursts to moments of heightened emotion as Trump spotlighted American heroism. Number 1, Al Green ejected again. He's kind of becoming a State of the Union fave. Democratic Texas Representative Al Green was once again ejected from the joint address after holding a sign declaring Black people aren't apes, which I feel like should be a bipartisan issue. Green, Green held the sign as Trump made his way to the dais Tuesday evening and remained standing with the sign even after Trump began the speech. Green was spotted in a heated back and forth with 2 House Republicans, Representatives Troy Niels, Republican Texas, and Pat Fallon, Republican Texas, before he was escorted out of the speech shortly after it began. And I want to know what the heated debate was. Were Troy and Pat Fallon like, no, Black people are apes? Was that what could the heated back and forth possibly have been about? I just really don't get it.
I mean, I would assume, hey, is that really appropriate for bringing into the State of the Union?
I mean, yes, because Trump started it. Like, I mean, if we're gonna be childlike about it, Trump started it. Yeah, you wouldn't need a sign that says Black people aren't apes if the president wasn't sharing pictures of Black people as apes on social media. I think this is pretty clear.
Yeah,
like,
fair enough.
I'm living in a bizarro world. We're all living in this bizarro world. The longtime Texas left-wing lawmaker was removed by security during Trump's 2025 joint address to Congress after repeatedly interrupting the president by shouting and shaking his cane. Loved that. I mean, if you're going to shake, bring a cane. The outburst led to the House censuring Green, including 10 Democrats joining the GOP in the March 2025 vote. Number 2 top moment, USA chants break out as men's hockey team honored. And I feel like, if my memory serves me right, this is not the first time at a Donald Trump State of the Union that people have started chanting USA, which is honestly so embarrassing. Chanting USA at the State of the Union as an elected official is the equivalent of singing Sweet Caroline when you're drunk in a bar. I have never been more embarrassed to be white. And you know me, on record, I'm not a big, oh my God, I'm sorry I'm white. I was just fucking born this way. We're doing what we can. We understand it becomes a problem for other people. But these moments, embarrassed to be white. Trump, USA chants break out as men's hockey team honored. Trump invited the U.S. men's hockey team to the speech just days after their gold medal win over Canada at the Winter Olympics. The body broke out into chants of USA as lawmakers of both parties stood to honor the Olympians. The team filled the aisle of the chamber as Trump welcomed them as examples of American triumph during his speech. I also noticed that he said, And congratulations to the women's team too. And the women got, a really big round of applause at the State of the Union. But he was like, yeah, they're coming to the White House soon. And it's like, no, they're not, boo. They publicly said they're not coming, and they're actually going to Flava Flav's party, and we all know it. So I thought it was interesting that he was trying to, like, slyly save face about the fact that the women's team heard you mocking them when you said, oh, I guess I have to invite the women's team too. And they said, yeah, we're not coming. We're not interested. Hockey goaltender Connor Hellebuyck. I heard
it's American hero Connor Hellebuyck.
Okay. In particular, received a hero's welcome when Trump announced he would receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Hell yeah.
He puts the hell in Hellebuyck. Made 41 saves during the U.S. game against Canada on Sunday, which helped keep the score tied at 1-1, forcing it into overtime. And that's, great. I have no problem saying, celebrating our Olympic winners. Great, wonderful, whatever. But of course, like, we have to put someone else down. It's just a sign. Someone who, to celebrate one group of people or one individual, always has to put someone else down, there could not be a larger sign of being insecure, and that is Donald Trump to a T. Quote, I will soon be presenting Connor with our highest civilian honor, which we will be given, and which has been given to many athletes over the years, Trump said. But when I say many, not too many, like 12, it's called the highest civilian honor in our country, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And this is why it took an hour and 45 minutes, because he just kind of starts riffing. And it's like, babes, keep on the teleprompter, okay? 3, Trump reprimands Dems. You should be ashamed. Trump's speech included dinging Democrats for voting against tax cuts under the Big Beautiful Bill, for unleashing sky-high inflation woes under the Biden administration, and for allegedly worsening the housing crisis. At one point, Trump took direct aim at Democrats' lax immigration policies, calling on lawmakers to stand and reaffirm their belief that the first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Again, quotes. One of the great things about the State of the Union is how it gives Americans a chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe, Trump said. So tonight, I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration and reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. Republicans were seen standing and applauding, while Democrats remained seated, leading to Trump admonishing left-wing lawmakers. And it's like, well, maybe it's part of it is because you ended it with not illegal aliens. And like, again, we're just really not kind of saying that anymore. Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up, Trump said. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who blocked the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, he said. They're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself. The speech had already sparked Minnesota Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar to shout at Trump, including claiming he's killed Americans. Claiming? It's not a claim. We saw the videos. Like, what are we talking about? Claim? It's not a claim. It's just a video that we all saw. One of the few that wasn't AI, apparently. Trump spoke out against the widespread fraud scandal linked to Minnesota's Somali community, as well as how Democrats cut off all funding for the Department of Homeland Security, leading to Omar to shout at Trump. They have instituted another Democrat shutdown, the first one costing us 2 points on GDP, 2 points we lost on GDP, which probably made them quite happy, actually, Trump said. Now they have closed the agency responsible for protecting Americans from terrorists and murderers. Omar shouted, "You have killed Americans," and was heard saying, "You are a murderer." I would argue every president is a murderer. Again, like, it's almost impossible, it seems, to be president and not be a murderer. So that is not Donald Trump specific, but certainly his policies are not helping. 4, Trump honors military heroism. Trump honored several members of the military stretching back to World War II Tuesday, delivering a series of emotional moments throughout the evening. In addition to announcing Hellebuck's upcoming Presidential Medal of Freedom, Trump awarded military honors to 2 military pilots, a Coast Guard petty officer, and 2 National Guard members Tuesday evening. Trump awarded the Medal of Honor to 100-year-old naval aviator Royce Williams, a veteran of World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam. In 1952, Royce was in the dogfight of a lifetime, legendary dogfight, flying through blizzard conditions. His squadron was ambushed by 7 Soviet fighter planes, Trump recounted. It was his first aerial combat of the war, and despite being massively outnumbered and outgunned, Royce led the takedown of 4 enemy jets and almost destroyed the others, vanquishing his adversaries while taking 263 bullets to his own plane and being seriously hurt. His story was secret for over 50 years. He didn't even want to tell his wife, but the legend grew and grew. He also presented the Medal of Honor to Army Chief Warrant Officer Eric Slover, who piloted an Army Chinook helicopter during the January mission that captured Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro and was wounded by hostile fire. Trump also recognized U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf with the Purple Heart after Wolf was attacked on the streets of Washington, D.C. ahead of Thanksgiving 2025. Army, what's SPC in military? Army, all right, well, I guess no. Sarah Beckstrom, 20, was fatally, what is it? Oh, it's just specialist. Okay. Was fatally injured in the same attack and posthumously awarded the Purple Heart. Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin received the Legion of Merit for extraordinary heroism after rescuing 165 people during the deadly Texas floods in July 2025. Trump reunited Ruskin with an 11-year-old girl he rescued in July 2025, Millie Kate McClymond. It was Scott's first ever rescue mission, the president said, describing him as young but very brave. He lifted not just Millie Kate, but 164 others to safety. People watched Scott from a distance, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The winds were blowing, the rain was pouring, everything was going, and the rapid water, nobody's ever seen anything like it, Trump continued. Tonight, Scott and Millie Kate are here together, reunited for the very first time. And I actually liked that portion of it. Obviously, Trump has said really horrible things about people who have served in the military. And, although I am a pacifist, I understand that, of course, we have to have a military. And I greatly appreciate everyone who fights in it because I'm not fighting. I mean, I'm too old now, but at no point was I willing to fight in it. So 5 young girl who nearly died in a illegal immigrant-involved truck crash honored. Trump invited a wide-ranging swath of guests to his speech, from everyday moms to war veterans, as well as 7-year-old Delilah Coleman. Coleman nearly lost her life in 2024 in a multi-car pileup in California that involved a tractor trailer driven by, you guessed it, listeners, an illegal immigrant. Of course, take a shot every time they say illegal immigrant or illegal alien in the State of the Union. You're going to be drunksies. Delilah Coleman was only 5 years old. Oh, and let me also just stop. He had a pattern, he meaning Donald Trump, had a pattern in this particular State of the Union. I mean, he always kind of speaks like this, but it felt excessive, where anytime he was describing a death, a murder, a homicide, any of this stuff, he always went into like grave and unnecessary detail. He would be like, at one point he described someone's death as being extinguished. I was like, pump the brakes, Papa Bear. Delilah Coleman was only 5 years old in June 2024 when an 18-wheel tractor trailer plowed into her stopped car, traveling at 60 miles an hour or more, Trump said. The driver was an illegal alien let in by Joe Biden and given a commercial driver's license by Open Borders politicians and California. The Trump administration has cracked down on non-citizen truck drivers, tightening eligibility requirements for non-domiciled commercial learners permits and commercial driver's licenses in September 2025, and Trump signing an executive order in April requiring truck drivers to pass English literacy tests. And that makes sense just because to read many signs in America, you must be able to at least read English. But other than that, I actually don't fully understand why being a truck driver wouldn't be a perfectly acceptable job for someone, and why, why we're acting like it's not, no matter what country you're from. I do understand the English literacy test, but again, that is simply so that you can understand the signage in a country. Anyone who's been to a different country knows, yeah, signage is hard everywhere when you don't speak the language. That's not racist. That's just so. Or that's not xenophobic, actually, would be more accurate. That's just so. The crackdowns are aimed at increasing road safety. Trump, but numbers aren't in English or Spanish though, so that's where I'm like, what are we saying? Are we saying he went down a wrong road? Are we saying that he was going too fast? A little unclear. But anyway, nothing has to really make sense in this administration, which is one of my favorite things about it. The crackdowns are aimed at increasing road safety. Trump detailed the medical triumphs the young girl has made since the horrific crash, calling her a great inspiration, as well as giving a shout out to her dad, Marcus Coleman, as a, quote, fantastic man. Doctors said Delilah would never be able to walk or talk, have a good life. She wouldn't ever be able to eat again. But against all odds, she is now in the first grade learning to walk. And she's here this evening with her dad, Marcus, Trump said, as GOP lawmakers applauded the young girl. And of course, really, she looks like she's doing, I don't know how she was doing before. She looks like she's doing really well now. Of course, I'm happy for her. That's great. I don't know that we need to turn it into a whole thing against, about how people from other countries are monsters, but I'm glad the 5-year-old's doing well. Alrighty then. Main story of the week, that was the State of the Union. Again, I did listen myself, but it was, I was kind of fact checking a little bit. He again used the stats that we reviewed last time. My favorite one, meaning that when he said 0 people, illegal aliens or whatever terminology he used this time, have gotten across the border during this administration, during this term. So he again said that, which comical, but good for him. Believe in yourself, buddy. That's how you got to the White House, not once but twice, or thrice if you're using your numbers. All right, let's take a little break now to shout out our Patreon subscribers. If you're interested in getting more of this show and helping support this show, the little show that could, again, we're growing every single week, and it makes me really happy. Today we part of the things I wanted to start doing was going on little Without a Country field trips. This Albany takeover was part of that. Obviously, it costs money to take a trip and bring people out there to help me with filming. So all this money goes towards stuff like that, and I really appreciate it. You can be a Without a Country Patreon subscriber for as little as $6 a month. And you can do that by heading to patreon.com/withoutacountry. All hail, as usual, our incredible dictator, Christopher Fungi. Thank you so much for all the support you've given to the show, the very insightful emails that you always send me, and perspectives and thoughts. And we love having you here. So all hail. And let's welcome everyone, our newest cutie, Avery Fennell. Hello, Avery. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for supporting the show. I appreciate you to bits. I really do. Let's now move on to Could Be Worse. We have 2 Could Be Worses this week. Could Be Worse, of course, our international news section, where I read you horrific stories out of other countries in an attempt to make you not hate America, as is a leftist tradition. A leftist pastime, they will say. This was one of my favorite all-time Could Be Worses. This is from the SAN, Straight Arrow News, unbiased, straight facts, SAN.com, Straight Arrow News. This says, Taliban's new criminal code allows wife beating if bones not broken, report. Okay. And this is a really nice kind of sister piece to the show that's coming out on Luminary this week on Guys We Fucked, which is all about the FBI report that we went over last week on this show of the increase in domestic violence. So there's a really great sister piece to this. Again, Taliban's new criminal code allows wife beating if bones not broken, report. Sounds like an Onion article, actually just a real report. The Taliban passed a law allowing men to beat their wives if they do not cause broken bones or open wounds, according to a 60-page penal code obtained by the Telegraph. This code, the Telegraph reported, was signed by Taliban Supreme Leader Hibatullah Akhundzada and passed out in courts throughout Afghanistan.
Akhundza Matata.
Oh, my God. It classifies spousal beatings as tazir, which is considered a discretionary punishment and not a criminal act. If serious injury can be proven, the Telegraph wrote, the maximum sentence is still only, I'm going to give you a moment to guess, 15 days. And the law is written in such a way to make sure that bar is never met. You know what? Sounds a little bit like the Republican Party when they said the law is written in such a way to make sure that the bar is never met. But, congratulations on this new law, Taliban. Wow, you really did it. You keep creating paradise, you know? You said Barbie the movie, not on my watch. All right, the next story from Could Be Worse comes out of... Oh, well, this really shouldn't be here. Sorry, I was thinking like this. I mean, this is a little more than a could be worse. It's the entire story of what's going on in Puerto Vallarta. So I'm gonna move that down because I just think that's a pretty main story. We'll get to that in just a minute. Let's move on to the Cuties corner right now. Then before we get into the heavier Mexico story. I mean, not like these cutie corners are light. You guys know me. You know, these are both absolutely horrifying. You know, I love them. White Coat Waste Project. They got another great report in, and this one's fucked as well. So this is White Coat Waste Investigation Lab funded by the NIH and NSF induces, quote, most severe stroke in dogs at University of Chicago. This is a nice light one. Could possibly be a Corinne Fisher party topic of the week. So White Coat Waste's latest investigation has exposed a National Institute of Health funded lab at the University of Chicago that is deliberately inducing the most severe stroke in dogs before killing them. Documents obtained by WCW, not that one, reveal that helpless dogs at risk of significant suffering have their arteries intentionally blocked to cut off blood and oxygen flow to their brains and trigger catastrophic strokes. The NIH...
Equally as dangerous for your brain, that WCW.
Oh, yeah, true. The NIH has already wasted $4.9 million on this lab. The project's current grant received $596,000 in June 2025 and is slated to receive 3 more years of funding unless the government acts. These deadly dog experiments are also being funded by the National Science Foundation, although the NIH and animal testing czar, they're in quotes for them, Nicole Kleidenstruer, committed to phasing out dog and cat tests, the agency continues to dole out millions of dollars in funding for cruel pet experiments like this. WCW is leading the charge to get the NIH and the NSF out of animal experimentation business for good. White Coat Waste's latest investigation has revealed another instance of the National Institute of Health and Animal Testing czar Nicole Kleidenstruer writing checks for pet abuse, despite claiming the problem predates them. Documents obtained by WCW through the Freedom of Information Act detail how the NIH is bankrolling experimenters at the University of Chicago who are intentionally inducing the most severe stroke in 64 dogs before killing them. At this University of Chicago lab, dogs endure 3 grueling days of experimentation before they are slaughtered. On the first day, the canines are poked and prodded by white coats as they're subjected to imaging and blood draws. On day 2, NIH-funded experimenters intentionally induce strokes by inserting coils into the dog's arteries, cutting off blood and oxygen flow to their brains. Once they regain consciousness, the dogs are given no time to recover. Instead, they're forced through a stroke scale scoring system, an assessment that measures their ability to walk, respond visually, retain basic sensory and motor function, and more. On the third day after the final images and samples are collected, every single dog is killed, as is customary with animal testing. I'm not saying that's better. I'm just saying it's customary. In the lab's own documents, experimenters attempt to justify slaughtering these helpless animals by admitting that they would face significant suffering if allowed to live, since they would be denied the same care and round-the-clock attention given to human stroke patients. The kicker is that these dog experiments are allegedly meant to study a stroke treatment that has already been proven safe and effective in human clinical trials, making this taxpayer-funded suffering especially cruel and wasteful. So far, the NIH has wasted $4.9 million, again, on this barbaric stroke lab, and they're reiterating some stuff now. But yeah, that's the nitty gritty of it. So you know what it's for, you know what's happening, and there you go. Again, the angle, if you don't remember our interview with White Coat Waste Project, is, you know, some people call it the conservative animal rights, group, but as I talk about a lot, like a ton of animal rights groups and animal activism and fostering and dog rescue is done by conservatives. I would say there's probably more conservatives. Maybe it's equal, but there's a ton of conservatives in dog rescue and animal rights. So that's definitely not something that is only left-leaning, even though it maybe feels like it would be. But their angle is that they talk about how much financial waste there is in animal testing for people who aren't huge animal advocates or who think it's okay to sacrifice a lot of animal lives if it means saving human lives, which could be your opinion. It's just not it's simply not my opinion. But so they try to target people by talking about something that a lot of people in America seem to really care about, which is financial waste and their tax money going up and up, their tax bills going up and up and up. And then this next Cuties Corner, this was brought to my attention by Wacko Lauren. You sent me a pretty complex and comprehensive New York Times investigative report on this. I'm not going to go through that whole investigation just because we have a lot of things to get to today, but I found a more succinct description of what's happening to dogs and cats in Morocco on the PETA website. And I'm sure I'm going to get a package or an email from PETA after this. I don't know what they do or what kind of AI they have scanning, or if they just have a bunch of volunteers listening to every podcast that might talk about an animal. But anytime I mention PETA, they know, they find me, they reach out, and they thank me. So just so you guys know, PETA is always watching you. Shout out, guys. You guys said that you were sending me some like stuffed mouse or rat or something for Valentine's Day. Never got it. Where is it? I want my mouse or my rat. All right. So this says, this is from PETA.org. Dogs and cats are set on fire, shot, and poisoned in Morocco. Take action now. Homeless cats and dogs in Morocco are being shot, poisoned, and left to die in cages without food or water as the country is preparing to co-host the 2030 FIFA World Cup football tournament. A series of videos exposed the horror. So they're basically, trying to clean up the streets before FIFA. Men with rifles gunned down dogs in full view of shocked witnesses, including children. Some dogs were poisoned while others were burned alive. Dogs and puppies separated from their mothers were locked up together, 10 to 20 per small cage, without food, water, or basic medical care, and intentionally left to die in what were supposedly shelters, in quotes, all around the country. 3 million animals may be murdered. Mass killings are reportedly being carried out to beautify the host cities of the 2030 FIFA World Cup as Morocco prepares to join Spain and Portugal in hosting the tournament. The Moroccan government is reportedly planning to exterminate 99% of all homeless dogs, approximately 3 million of them across the country. Morocco fails to uphold its commitment to humane treatment Authorities have used public health as an excuse for the slaughter, but previously they pledged to implement sterilization and vaccination programs to control the spread of rabies. And, we know even from the rat czar right here in New York City that sterilization really, really works. Just a reminder, if you are listening and you have a dog or at home, please spay and neuter your animals. It is actually crazy not to and irresponsible. The government has not delivered on this promise. Instead, charity organizations throughout Morocco have neutered more than 6,000 homeless dogs and cats in the last few years. While these efforts are commendable, they cannot begin to address the staggering population of an estimated 3 million homeless animals across the country. The government must step in and provide humane and effective population control solutions. Careless massacre, shooting, poisoning, and burning dogs is anything but humane. Thanks, PETA. You always let us know the difference between right and wrong. We're calling for a humane approach to the homeless animal crisis, and PETA stands ready to help the Moroccan government develop an effective and humane animal control plan. PETA has also written to FIFA asking it not to stand by silently while this devastating extermination takes place on its behalf, which I think is a really fair request. So FIFA, where you at? And if you're interested in taking action, you can go and sign this petition that literally says, please stop the massacre of dogs and cats. I'll leave this open so I can, fill this out when I'm not on air, but it looks like it would take about 2 seconds to fill out. About 2 secondos. So make sure to do that. We'll have the link in the show notes. The article, the link for the petition, or the petition itself is right under the actual copy about what is happening. So thanks, Lauren, for bringing that to my attention. If you have something on your mind that you want to bring to my attention, whether it be something political happening that you saw or experienced with your own ears and eyes, or if there's a news article that I haven't talked about on here that you think deserves attention and I might have missed it, please send it over to withoutacountrypodcast@gmail.com. And again, just because I don't mention something or talk about something doesn't mean that I have not seen it or paid attention to it. I got a really interesting letter from a woman in Minnesota, and I think this is more public knowledge now over the past couple of weeks, but that even though the news has stopped largely reporting on Minnesota, things have not gotten better. And I also just read a headline today that I think they're going to stop Medicaid benefits to Minnesota, this Trump administration. They're just really trying to do whatever possible to hurt and continue hurting Minnesota. So we know it's still happening. And thank you for writing us that letter. You sent the same letter here and to GWF, so we just ended up getting to it on GWF first. So I'm not going to read it again here, but
White House,
the same thing is happening.
White House to pause $250 million in Minnesota Medicaid dollars as part of fraud investigation.
So they're using the Somali investigation as an excuse to continue to cut all this funding that people need in a place that's already hurting. Correct? Is that correct?
I mean, I don't know if it's specifically the, Somalis are trying to hurt a place, but,
No. I'm not saying Somalis are trying to hurt them. I'm saying the Trump administration is trying to punish. Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying I don't know if it's, if I would follow those exact parameters, but
right.
Yeah, it looks like they are planning to withhold almost $260 million in Medicaid funding.
Nice.
But it's like, okay, then why aren't we getting to the bottom of the fraud that's happening in Muncie, New York?
What fraud's happening in Muncie, New York?
I mean, you're gonna have to look into that yourself. I can't say it. I'll get in trouble if I say it.
What racist angle are you gonna bring to the table? Wait, or is it something with the Jews?
Yes. Yeah.
So you know what? Why did I even ask? Because when Mike has a scandal, the Jews are somehow always behind it.
Look,
if you're tuning in for the first time, I'm Jewish. Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm just saying there are certain communities in this country.
Muncie is funded by AIPAC. What are we trying to say here?
No, Muncie is like largely, Hasidic and Orthodox Jews, many of whom have between 8 and 10 children, and they're claiming,
That sounds like something that you're very pro-child, Mike. Why all of a sudden when the Hasidic Jews do it, are you turning on us? You're Mr. Family. You're Mr. Girl Dad around town.
Okay, what I'm not for is community marriages, let's say, where it never goes under the federal government.
Are you talking about incest? Or?
No. I'm talking about like you have a marriage. It's recognized in your community, but you never register with the federal government.
And under the table marriage.
So the mom is able to continue getting with infant child benefits and single mom status on her welfare claims.
And you're saying this is something only Jews do?
No, I'm saying that specifically this is a town full of that is like 90% Jewish people, where it is a very common occurrence for many women in the town to have multiple children and to claim single mother status on their taxes. And there are people...
And what's your source for this?
I mean, it's people who've done Nick Shirley style journalism, but they're going to the communities. They're going to the communities that...
Oh, the Learning Center, the Leering Center, School of Journalism.
This is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, but the point I'm making is, right, Nick Shirley does that. He gets praised. Immediately we're looking into this. We're withholding $250,000 of federal funds.
He got praised initially, and then everyone looked into it, and they're like, actually, Nick Shirley created a huge disaster.
There's $250 million that's not going to Minnesota largely because of the reporting that Nick Shirley did and others. I mean, we talked about this on air like 4 days before Nick Shirley even dropped that video. But I'm saying
yes.
He became the face of, breaking down what's going on in Minneapolis and the greater Minnesota area. And that's led to, the withholding of funds. I'm saying that, like, certain people are doing this level of journalism, but because it doesn't target black people, nothing is happening at the federal level. That's the only point I'm making, is like, it's messed up that this citizen journalism only hurts people who don't look like Donald Trump.
All right. So, I mean... When I typed in, just so you guys know, the keywords that I typed in as Mike was filling us in, Muncie, New York, Hasidic Jews, fraud, single mother. And I just said, let me see what I get. I mean, what I'm getting, and this is the AI overview on Google, which is many times wildly inaccurate, but I see more, investigations of like welfare and benefits fraud. I guess this is the one you're referring to. Again, this is like the information is coming from articles from 2017, 1996, and 2014 is where they're pulling from. FYI. And it says federal, state, and local authorities have previously investigated and prosecuted various fraud schemes within ultra-Orthodox Hasidic communities in the New York City suburban area, including Rockland County, which is Muncie, Orange County, and Brooklyn. These investigations have primarily focused on mortgage fraud, welfare fraud, Medicaid food stamps, and financial irregularities in private schools. Welfare and benefit fraud investigations have centered on individuals claiming low income or single parent status while holding significant assets or having higher actual incomes, allowing them to qualify for government aid like Medicaid and food stamps. And I know Mike likes to concentrate on the Jews, and I say it the way Mike says it, but I do have a theory that anytime all the same kind of person gets together, and this is literally any kind of group, and especially when they feel like they only can hang out with each other because they are experiencing they're experiencing some kind of a targeting or a hate outside of the group, they start scheming. This is any group of people, yet even women. We're just left together. Sometimes we just knit, but then sometimes we're scheming. Okay, this is any group of people.
Yeah, I saw somebody posted last week. It's like, feminism was always about equality between the sexes, and then it's like famous feminist quotes of like, I think men should be turned into ground beef. I think men should live underground.
Mike, this is only on your feed.
No, I'm just saying it's This is actually on Alex's feed, believe it or not.
Well,
she showed it to me.
You talk a lot around her, so her feed. You guys are married now. Her feed has become your feed. Listen, I've never heard that for someone who has openly hated men and talked about feminism at the extent that I have talked about it. I've never seen the ground beef quote, so
I was pulling that.
Again, I need you to cite your source.
I was pulling that out of thin air.
Because if that was a real quote, it would be in my Instagram bio. And I think we all know that. So fact check. All right, let's get into a girl now. So this is what I was going to go into before, and when I was like, I think this is a little bit more than a could be worse, but this is from NBC News. I'm sure you're aware of this story, one of the larger stories of the week. Powerful cartel unleashes wave of violence across Mexico after its leader's killing. So Sunday's killing of Nemesio Ruben Asaguero Cervantes El Mencho, that's his little nickname, that's his street name, triggered roadblocks and unrest across western Mexico. Mexico City, the Jalisco, or would I say it like with a Spanish J? Jalisco, I'm guessing. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel unleashed a wave of violence across Mexico, setting vehicles ablaze, blocking roads, and turning the state capital into a ghost town after the army killed its powerful leader known as El Mencho. Jalisco. Yeah, I was like, Jalisco's definitely not right. Wait, Jalisco, so it's just an H for.
Hold on.
What? Oh, yes. I should have known that. My old coworker Jackie always used to text me that. Love her. Hope you're doing well, Jackie. You're in Florida now, and she works at Universal Studios, I believe. You didn't need to know that, but that's just a little slice of life. So Nemesio Ruben Asaguero Cervantes. We're just gonna call him El Mencho. That's way too many names. You get two names, maybe three. You know, 4 is too many. El Mencho was the Mexican government's biggest prize yet to show the Trump administration in its efforts to crack down on the cartels. His death was met with a forceful reaction by his Jalisco New Generation Cartel, known by its Spanish initials CJNG. Cars set on fire by cartel members blocked roads in nearly a dozen Mexican states and left smoke billowing into the air. Jalisco's capital, Guadalajara, was turned into a ghost town Sunday night as civilians hunkered down. Later, authorities announced that they had cleared most of the more than 250 cartel roadblocks across 20 states. Several Mexican states canceled school Monday, and local and foreign governments warned citizens to stay inside as violence erupted. Let's see. So El Mencho, 59, was wounded in an operation to capture him Sunday in Tapalpa, Jalisco, about a 2-hour drive southwest of Guadalajara, and he died while he was being flown to Mexico City, the Defense Department said in a statement. The state is the base of the cartel known for trafficking huge quantities of fentanyl and other drugs to the United States. During the operation, troops came under fire and killed 4 people at the location. 3 more people, including El Mencho, were wounded and died later, the statement said. 2 others were arrested, and armored vehicles, rocket launchers, and other arms were seized. 3 members of the armed forces were wounded and receiving medical treatment. White House press secretary Caroline Leavitt said in a statement Sunday night that the U.S. provided intelligence support to the Mexican government in order to assist with an operation in Tapalpa, Jalisco, Mexico, in which El Mencho was killed. President Trump has been very clear. The United States will ensure narco-terrorists sending deadly drugs to our homeland are forced to face the wrath of justice they have long deserved, Leavitt said. She said the Trump administration commends and thanks the Mexican military for their cooperation and successful execution of this operation. The U.S. Embassy in Mexico said on X that the operation was carried out by Mexican special forces within the framework of bilateral cooperation, with U.S. authorities providing complementary intelligence. The Joint Interagency Task Force Counter Cartel regularly works with the Mexican military through U.S. Northern Command, a U.S. defense official told NBC News. However, the official said this was a Mexican military operation and the success is Mexico's. 2 American parents who lost children to fentanyl poisoning had mixed reactions to the news of El Mencho's death. It's good news to me, said Jamie Puerta, whose 16-year-old son died from fentanyl poisoning in 2020. This will most definitely disrupt fentanyl from coming into the country as factions go to war over control of the cartel. Puerta, who gives presentations at the FBI Academy about the impact of fentanyl deaths, told NBC News he remains worried that someone else will soon replace El Mencho and that there will be more violence in Mexico. Of course someone's going to replace him. Of course someone's going to replace him. Of course. But he said, as a father who lost his one and only son, regardless of whichever political party one may subscribe to, this is definitely something that was needed a long time ago and very much applauded by many in my community. Cindy DeMeo, whose daughter Rachel died from fentanyl poisoning in 2016, told NBC News she's grateful President Donald Trump has raised awareness about fentanyl. He has helped to stop the stigma and educate our country, she said, but she called the eruption of violence following the cartel leader's death very concerning. And she said, I think Trump uses fentanyl to get what he wants, citing his actions in Venezuela. Ah, Cindy. Cindy's been listening. Cindy, nothing gets past Cindy. The killing of El Mencho set off several hours of roadblocks with burning vehicles, tactics the cartels commonly use to block military operations. Videos circulating on social media showed smoke billowing over the tourist city of Puerto Vallarta in Jalisco and people sprinting through the airport of the state's capital in panic. I saw homemade videos of this from my many gay male friends who were vacationing in Puerto Vallarta at the time. Were there multiple? Yes, of course. You know my feed, babies. While no airports have been closed, roadblocks are affecting airline operations and travelers' ability to get there, according to the U.S. Embassy and consulates in Mexico. On Sunday afternoon, Air Canada announced it was suspending flights to Puerto Vallarta due to an ongoing security situation and advised customers not to go to their airports. American Airlines said it is waiving change fees for certain customers traveling to, through, or from Guadalajara or Puerto Vallarta in the coming days. The waiver has certain eligibility requirements. In Guadalajara, burning vehicles blocked roads. Mexico's second largest city is scheduled to host matches during this summer's Soccer World Cup. The State Department warned U.S. citizens in Jalisco, Tamaulipas, there's a lot of states, and I can't get past these all, to be honest, to remain in safe places because of the security operations. Canada's embassy in Mexico warned its citizens in Puerto Vallarta to shelter in place and generally to keep low profiles in Jalisco. Jalisco Governor Pablo Lemus told residents to stay at home and suspended public transportation. Telemundo News reported that Guadalajara was paralyzed following El Mencho's death. As of nighttime, people remained sheltered in place and stores remained closed. Jim Beck, a Minnesotan who has been going to Puerto Vallarta for more than 20 years, told NBC News that he has always felt safe in the city until Sunday morning. What a bummer! You're in Minnesota. So much is going on there. You take a vacation, get away, Puerto Vallarta, this happens. Today, everybody was running down the streets in panic and terror as cars were blowing up all over the place, he said. He and his partner went out for breakfast but encountered taxis and a bus that had been blown up and were blocking the street. They hurried back to the hotel and have been under lockdown since around 10 a.m. Beck and his partner were hoping, this is just only gay people go here? I mean, I was thinking of, like, my friend went to Puerto Vallarta, but he's gay. Yeah, I guess I have no other Puerto Vallarta stories. Beck and his partner were hoping to return to the U.S. on Wednesday, but are unsure they will be able to. I guess the rest of this is just about how gay people couldn't get back from their vacations. It's like 5 more paragraphs of that, but I'm just going to summarize by saying a lot of gay people stayed on vacation longer than they wanted to because of the cartel. End of article. Oh boy, guys. I have been up for so many hours. Okay. Let's go. Okay. Crystal too. We've been up for hours. This actually just came in as we were driving home from Albany. More death, and this is, related to Trump's narco-terrorism quests. So Florida launches probe after Cuba kills 4 aboard U.S. flagged speedboat near the Keys. Cuban government claims U.S. vessel crew fired first. So this is from Fox. The state of Florida launched a full investigation into an announcement from the Cuban government that it killed several people aboard a U.S. flagged speedboat operating close to the communist island's North Shore on Tuesday. Well, how the hell did I only hear about this today then, if this happened on Tuesday? I swear this came out as we were driving home. I had not seen anything about it, but I was also maybe in a different zone. Representative Carlos Jimenez, Republican Florida, first said that the Cuban Interior Ministry reported confronting a speedboat with a Florida license number and claimed the occupants opened fire first. Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer told Fox News Digital that his office is now looking into the situation, adding that Havana is not an honest neighbor. I've directed the Office of Statewide Prosecution to work with our federal, state, and law enforcement partners to begin an investigation, Uthmeyer said in a statement. The Cuban government cannot be trusted, and we will do everything in our power to hold those communists accountable. The Cuban government claimed that on Tuesday morning, a quote, violating speedboat had been detected within 1 nautical mile of Falcon Keys El Pino Channel near Villa Clara. The area also lies a relatively short distance due south of the Florida Keys resort town of Marathon. The Cubans claimed that when 5 border guardsmen approached to make the Americans identify themselves, the speedboat's crew fired shots. As a consequence of the confrontation, as of the time of this report, 4 aggressors on the foreign vessel were killed and 6 were injured. The injured individuals were evacuated and received medical assistance, the Cuban government claimed. National defense is a fundamental pillar of the Cuban state in safeguarding its sovereignty and ensuring stability in the region. When reached for comment, a U.S. Department of Homeland Security official directed Fox News Digital to the State Department. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who, by the way, in things that I've been reading and watching this week, it seems like is possibly someone that they're setting up to be the Republican nominee for president next go round.
Yuck.
It really seems, because I think everyone across the board has no faith in J.D. Vance. I was almost thinking, are they going to try to make Tucker Carlson the nominee? Are they going to kind of try to redo Trump and pull someone from the entertainment business a little bit more? But no, I was reading a little bit more this week. And again, we don't know. The next presidential election is still many years away, but it did seem like possibly they were positioning Marco Rubio. And with the way that President Trump spoke about Marco Rubio in the State of the Union really aligned with what I had been reading. He really talked up Marco Rubio, if you noticed, in the State of the Union. So again, just some food for thought.
I'll tell you right now, if anybody's doing that celebrity thing next time around, it's going to be the blue team.
Oh, you think? Who's the blue team running?
I mean, my point exactly. I mean, you're facing what the Republicans were in 2016, where it's like, are we really going to elect a third Bush? It was Jeb Bush versus Marco Rubio as your front runners coming into that election, if you remember, and then Trump came out of nowhere. You're telling me there isn't somebody who's like got aspirations who looks at that weak
Rachel
Democratic
Maddow?
I wouldn't go with I personally wouldn't go with a news person. They know how the sausage is made, and it's like it's just too violent of a game to jump into.
Mark Ruffalo.
I think it was going to be anybody. Be Stephen A.
Who's Stephen
A. Smith.
Oh. Well, that's been talked about, though.
He's openly courting.
Yeah, that's been talked about.
The idea of running.
Yeah, that's been talked about. Yeah. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But Marco Rubio. And then, someone said to me this week, as if it was kind of a known fact, they were like, Nick Fuentes is the next leader of the Republican Party.
So I think a lot of that hangs on the back of that the guy we were looking at a few weeks ago, Fishback, down in Florida, because he's the first one. He at like a rally the Blue America First hat is Nick Fuentes, correct?
The Blue America First hat?
Yeah.
What?
Like there's, you know how Trump has the red "Make America Great Again"? I'm pretty sure Nick
Oh,
Fuentes'
I
group is the America
I
First.
am not familiar with Nick Fuentes' merch. Sorry.
So I saw like he like at a rally full of like young men.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Fuentes store, it's on sale there. At like a rally full of young men in Florida, like I guess he was handed one of those hats, and he's like marching back and forth, pacing, and he goes, "You know what this hat represents? Like America first, putting America's interests first, putting this, that, the other thing. So I wear it with pride." He puts it on, and the camera pans, and it's all like 19-year-old white kids like losing their minds over it. And it's a thing where it's like, if they can mobilize the Fuentes army, let's say, in Florida and get this guy to a resounding victory, then I think the stage is set for not only him to run, but him to start hand selecting. Okay, you know what I mean? They say the true power in politics is not being the politician, but the one who decides who gets to run. If being a groiper and so associated with Nick Fuentes' America First movement can get this guy over the line, I think then you're looking at like, okay, what's next, right? Who's he picking to try to unseat the Democrat in Minnesota? Who's he picking to try to turn California red somehow, you know? And like, if you can mobilize these young men, I think, you know, I mean, Trump proved it.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, no, it was like, it was absolutely said to me almost as if it was fact, privately in a discussion with, you know, someone I've been working with who is in politics, not just like a pal. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was already in the Caribbean region on Tuesday, visiting with officials in Basseterre, St. Kitts. Jimenez, the only Cuban-born member of Congress and a vocal critic of that country's current dictatorship, told Fox News Digital that the Diaz-Canel regime must be relegated to the dustbin of history for its countless crimes against humanity. Jimenez said that he asked his fellow Miamian Rubio for more details and called for the firefight to receive the full federal attention it deserves. The press pool traveling with Rubio has inquired about the situation. Representative Byron Donalds, the Naples Republican seeking to succeed Governor Ron DeSantis this year, told Fox News Digital there should be a full investigation into this troubling matter. The bottom line is that the communist Cuban regime must go. Donald separately said that the Castro and Diaz-Canel regime has destroyed the liberty of the Cuban people for 2 generations, going on a third. They needed to go long ago. Representative Maria Elvira Salazar, Republican Florida, who represents heavily Cuban-American parts of Miami, like Cali Ocho, said in a statement that she is also following very closely the reports that Cuban regime forces opened fire on a speedboat registered in Florida. This is a developing situation, and I am awaiting official information from the U.S. authorities. And this is okay. So this is matching up. I'm like, this is from today. This is from late today, like almost 5 p.m. today. So I guess even though it happened on Tuesday, I guess it didn't make its way to the American news cycle until today. Which, I mean, it's not crazy. It's Wednesday. I'm acting like it's, you know, Saturday, but that I thought I was hallucinating. Usually we find out things day of, but I guess not in this case. So we'll get more information on that, but I thought that was pretty this is a very, very without a country story. So I do want to talk about this. So I saw again, you know, my news feed is on social media is really heavily skewed politics right now. You know, coming off of running for mayor and then continuing to do things like Pagent to the People. Obviously, my phone hears me talk for hours on this show every day. So it's still very, very into the algorithm is still serving me a lot of, you know, political influencers. And I swear to God, I am getting so much misinformation and like hearsay and conspiracy theories fed to me every day as if they are facts. So again, I just wanted to warn you, and I know I warn you like every week, but we have to be so careful about the misinformation and about AI that looks realistic and about, you know, taking news from people who say something confidently to camera just because it was edited well and they said it confidently to camera and it got hundreds and or thousands of comments and likes and was reshared does not mean that it is true. Please, 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 before sharing or believing this information, try to find it in a reputable news source. And if you can't, that should be a huge red flag for you. So this is from cbc.ca, the Canadian source, but this has been in many sources. So I saw this guy doing a very serious video being like, oh my God, Ghislaine Maxwell and Alan Dershowitz are in Canada together. And then it was like close-ups of Ghislaine Maxwell and this woman, and they were basically like comparing the width of her nose and trying to say that the person currently in prison as Ghislaine Maxwell was not Ghislaine Maxwell, and that Ghislaine Maxwell was currently hanging out in Canada with Alan Dershowitz. Again, like really said as if like this is 100% true. And it is not, okay? So this is in Montreal, what a fake viral video of Ghislaine Maxwell in Quebec City says about AI deception. Viral video's creator digitally swapped a pedestrian's face with that of Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, okay? A video purporting to show Ghislaine Maxwell, the former girlfriend and accomplice of Jeffrey Epstein, out for a stroll in Quebec City has gained millions of views since it was posted last week. It's fake. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your mom, wake up your kids. It's fake. The original poster, and this is the hardest part because the whole country's getting duped by a 19-year-old. The original, of course, makes sense. The people who are going to know technology the best are the younger people for the most part. So it's fake. The original poster, a 19-year-old from Quebec City, told CBC News as much and added, albeit retroactively, disclaimer labels flagging the use of AI. In a message to CBC News, the poster said they used a website to do the face swap, which is the act of digitally transplanting someone's face onto another person's body. The poster said the process was fairly simple. They refused to share their name, saying that they have received multiple threats since the video went up. And obviously, you know, the same as when laws had to catch up to this new Wild West world of podcasting and, you know, things like sexual assault via digital transplants had to catch up to the world, and you know, revenge porn and all these things had to catch up. I don't think it's going to be too long before we start seeing laws and legal action for people who spread serious misinformation in this way. It has to, in fact, I think, start happening. You know, and it's different. Like I have, you know, my good friend Danny Polishchuk has gained a really big following by doing like satirical stuff and really interesting, really funny AI videos that, you know, definitely many people believe them to be real. But if you like listen to actually what the characters are saying in it, you know, he is, you know, he uses the technology to make it look like people you really know, Donald Trump, Candace Owens, whoever it may be, are saying specific things, but it is not true. It's really funny. They're really clever. He's really good at it. And so I think that would still fall under, you know, satire, comedy, that kind of things. And, you know, comedy and satire are pretty heavily protected in America for now. But I really do think it's only a matter of time. And I do think it's necessary before we start seeing people get in real legal trouble for spreading harmful misinformation. Despite the AI labels, fresh comments are still pouring in from users demanding to see the original footage to debunk the theory that Maxwell is, in fact, not sitting in a Texas prison serving a 20-year sentence for helping Epstein sexually abuse underage girls. When you know, after all these weeks of Epstein file releases, when you hear 20-year sentence, you go, that's not really enough. For Concordia University professor Florent Michelet, the video's virality and the conspiracy theories it spawned are not surprising at all. Conspiracy theories are very easy to understand, he said, likening them to fast food for the brain. That was a nice way of that guy calling you guys a fucking idiot. I mean, you know, I like a conspiracy theory from time to time too. To me, yeah, this was like, just again, like, please just be so careful with the information you're taking in. I really do think it's harmful. And it's not harmful like to believe something that isn't true. I mean, sometimes it is. It's more harmful because this is just, it's building more distrust with our government when we already have enough organic distrust with the government. And at a certain point, it's like going to be so hard for people telling the truth to win elections because we're just going to continue to only believe fake shit served to us by like a guy making an omelet who's putting a video of Ghislaine Maxwell in a frame while he's making an omelet going, do you see this? And then seeing like the nose. It's crazy. Seen but frame by frame, a viewer can see the moment that the filter activates and also pick up on the mismatch between the high resolution of Maxwell's face and the blurriness of the surrounding image. And again, that's something to be looking like. There is, there usually are tells with AI. I imagine as it keeps developing and improving, it'll get harder and harder to tell by just looking, at something, if it's AI. So this is where we got to use our critical thinking, our smart girl and boy brains. And, we just look at it and I didn't watch it and say, oh, it looks like, Ghislaine's nose is in the wrong place because where I saw it, they didn't share the entire video. And maybe purposefully so. They just, talked about it and showed, frames from it. But my thought was like, the government is corrupt. I think it would have to be a pretty big heist to pull off to have some actor in jail portraying Ghislaine Maxwell. And if that is true, who is that actor and what are they getting in return to, give up 20 years of their life? Or is it someone who owes someone something? I mean, again, we're really going down a rabbit hole now, right? But anyway, it's not true. The video shows a woman in a blue coat speaking with a man outside Snack Queb on St. Jean Street. When she faces the camera person, a filter activates to make her look like Maxwell. Maxwell is currently a registered inmate at federal prison Camp Bryan and will be eligible for release in 2037. She also appeared at a U.S. congressional hearing earlier this month. The Quebec City video has been shared thousands of times, including by Russian state-owned media outlet RT on its X account, saying it shows a woman in Quebec looking strikingly similar to Ghislaine Maxwell, but the viral sighting isn't proof of anything. In an Instagram story uploaded over the weekend, the video's poster explained that their intent was never to spread misinformation, but to make satire content. But like, how is that satire? I think that, listen, you're 19, maybe you don't understand what satire is. Let's quickly pull up the definition because I don't think just saying someone is someone when they're not is satire. I don't think that falls under the umbrella of satire. So satire is a genre of literature, art, and performance that uses humor, irony, exaggeration, or mockery to expose and criticize human vices, follies, abuses, or shortcomings. While often intended to be humorous, the primary goal of satire is usually constructive social criticism, prompting reflection or encouraging improvement. It often targets powerful individuals, institutions, or societal norms. I mean, I guess this guy, if he wants to have a real uphill battle, could argue that he was trying to make social commentary on the distrust that we have in our government with how easy it is, it is to fool people into thinking that someone who is supposedly in prison is walking the streets of Quebec outside a snack shop with Alan Dershowitz. I guess he could go to court with that, but I don't really think this is in any way satire or. I mean, I guess a really good lawyer could prove anything in court, but I don't think this is. Anyway, so their page is full of similar deep fakes, including representations of Epstein, Premier Francois Legault, Prime Minister Mark Carney, and the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. And again, where I originally saw this video was another influencer sharing this video. It wasn't the original video itself that came upon my feed. But if it is the original video, that's another good tactic is going to the page that it came from and looking around just for literally, these things don't take a lot of time, literally for 3 seconds and figuring it out. Again, like I made like a under 2-minute video with my favorite Deepak Chopra quotes as a joke, obviously. And within, I think, 16 seconds, I think I talked about this on the show, within 16 seconds, you could tell that I was mocking the quotes and making all the quotes seem like they were about, pedophilia and taking advantage of women. And I got multiple comments on my video where I could tell that the person had literally just saw the title and decided to comment their disgust for me sharing Deepak Chopra quotes at this time. And I was like, my, what a scary world we live in. We're reacting to things that we haven't experienced. This is not good. You're not that busy. Okay? I promise you. If I had time this week to take a 19-and-a-half-hour train from Atlanta to New York City, you got time to go to the original Instagram page and find out where if this is a guy who constantly posts deep fakes. Please, I'm begging of you, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your family, okay? Tell your parents for sure to look out for AI. Glitches will not save us. Though the poster's video contains clear glitches, Michelot says relying on those imperfections to identify AI-generated videos will quickly become an obsolete verification method. Instead, the solution to parsing through the immense amount of information the internet spits at its users every day lies in democratizing media literacy. Notably, he points to Belgium's government institution, the Conseil Supérieur de l'Éducation aux Médias, which develops material and resources on media literacy for educators, students, and the general public. No such institution exists in Canada, where most of the work around bolstering media literacy has been carried out by nonprofits like Media Smarts, says Michelot. Some governments, for example, in Europe, understood what is behind such videos because there are diplomatic consequences. There is some political consequences. There is consequences of extremism, for example. I don't think that our government clearly understands the situation. He says, in the meantime, journalists and academics have to be vigilant around how quickly they dismiss conspiracy theories because some are true. The CIA did experiment on humans in its attempt to develop mind control techniques, and oil and gas corporation ExxonMobil did know about climate change in the 70s, for example. We have to do a self-critique about how we treat events like the Epstein files a few years ago to understand how we feed into how some people treat this event today, he said. In other words, we got to look at the past for why we're in the situation that we were in the present. And it is definitely the boy who cried wolf syndrome that we have going on in politics right now. In the past, you have lied to us so much that now when you're not lying to us, or when, conspiracy theories surface, or when AI generated videos of people who are supposed to be in prison, make it appear like they aren't in prison, it's easy to understand why we might not believe you. But again, please, we gotta be vigilant about this. All right, I know we gotta wrap up quite soon. Let me see if there's like a shorter piece on Casey Means. This is very interesting. So the Surgeon General nominee is basically she's like a wellness influencer. I believe she is an actual.
Yeah, that's what we deserve.
Casey Means wellness.
So,
yeah,
somebody like, if it strikes me just how much we're living in idiocracy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like how many influencers, like, Mehmet Oz is what? Like he's the head of the NHS, or he's like the Surgeon General or something.
Oh, right,
like,
Dr. Oz, yeah.
What are we, you know what I mean? Like, why don't we have a situation where former UFC fighter Cain Velasquez, the guy who went to prison for shooting at the man who may or may not have molested his child, like, why don't we just take any people accused of touching children and put them into a cage with that man and film it for pay-per-view? Like, that's the society we deserve. And it's crazy.
Oh, I thought that was something that you were actually pitching, because that seemed like something that you would either host, do commentary on, sell a streaming link to.
Listen, if I could get that gig.
Catch me at the Armored League Pedophilia Edition.
Dude, if I could get that gig, ooh.
I know you would nail it.
I'm just saying, like, it's crazy to me that like, that is, we do deserve to have Brando as our president.
Brando. Oh my God. All right. I'm trying to wrap this up for you, Mike. I mean, me also. But
I know. I was fill in while you were looking something up.
No, I love it. I love this information. I was just trying to find a shorter article than the New York Times coverage of this because I don't think we need to go over this whole thing yet. Unless she actually does become Surgeon General. But this is from Cleveland.com. I went to a local news source because I love it. It says, meet the influencer Trump wants in charge of U.S. health. Wellness influencer Dr. Casey Means faced questioning Wednesday. And if either of you could pull up her Instagram and see if there's anything of interest that you see while I'm reading this that you could share with the class. Wellness influencer Dr. Casey Means faced questioning Wednesday in Washington, D.C. before members of the Senate Health Committee as President Donald Trump's selection for Surgeon General. Means' nomination to be the top health official in the country who gives advice on public health and safety has drawn a lot of attention from both supporters and critics. Our nation is angry, exhausted, and hurting from preventable diseases, the 38-year-old said during her opening remarks. Public health leaders must address the evidence-based, modifiable drivers of chronic diseases, which include ultra-processed foods, industrial chemical exposure, lack of physical activity, chronic stress and loneliness, and over-medicalization. Means is known for emphasizing lifestyle changes over traditional medical interventions. She talks about eating well, moving more. Now it's gonna be doctors. It's like, Snooki, you have cervical cancer. Do some yoga. Moving more and changing your lifestyle to prevent disease. She has also written a book and co-founded a company called Levels, which helps people track their health using technology. What does this remind us of? They're tracking us at every moment, and we think they're making our lives easier. Again, I will never stop rubbing it in everyone's face that I was right about period tracking because you guys were so fucking rude to me about it, and I was so fucking right, and I'm gonna bask in the glory of how right I was until the fucking day I die. I'm telling you, anytime you are putting, HIPAA fucking exists for a reason. Anytime you're putting private medical information into an app, into technology, besides, I'm not talking about the portal that you talk to your doctor on. I'm talking about an app that you download from the iTunes store. When you are doing that, just know they're tracking you, and at one point they might twist things to use it legally against you. I promise you. But at the very least, if you're using a health app, please look up who created it and legally who has access to it. For now, I guess that could always change. Trump chose Means in May 2025. The previous Surgeon General nominee was Dr. Jeanette Neshawat, whose name was withdrawn after criticism from some of Trump's allies. I guess she, thought that, women should have control over their own bodies or something. Trump said Means has strong...
Ooh, this is interesting.
What?
So you said the nomination went out in May of 25, right?
I gotta go back.
You just read that a second ago.
Trump chose Means, in May 2025.
Means has not had a post since April of 25.
They were like, bitch, get off the gram.
Well, here's the thing. The third latest post that she did put out is about how North Dakota signed the Pesticide Liability Shield into law today. Beyond corrupt and unethical, now 16,000 chemicals are protected, and we are out of luck if we get sick from them. I mean... This Trump administration just went to bat for glyphosate.
Right. I know Crystal and I were talking about that earlier today.
Right. So how is this woman going to fit into this cabinet? when that's her values, when that's like one of the last it's this in an interview with Bill Maher, the last two things she's posted about.
Oh, perfect.
Right. And her other pin post is her showing off her book with Huberman. So real gal.
Oh, the Huberman Lab?
Yeah.
Ugh, my fave.
Oh, well, she's taller than Joe Rogan. So
she what?
She's taller than Joe Rogan, so maybe she's qualified.
Oh my God. What an absolute nightmare that we are living in right now. Trump said Means has strong credentials from her work with the Make America Healthy Again program. I want to see her workout video with Kid Rock.
Also, by the way, did you hear about
She can
this?
do one with Jelly Roll. I want to see Jelly Roll's work. I mean, he has lost a lot of weight, obviously, but it's, from Ozempic, I'm sure.
Did you hear that the RFK's running mate from the Maha movement, the Maha party, her last post was the Maha movement has been infiltrated and it's like messed up and has gone completely dark since then. No one has heard from the woman.
What?
This was RFK's running mate. I don't know if she's missing. She's just off of the internet.
She's off the grid. Well, we don't have time to talk about it this week, but we're going to get into it next week. Crystal found a very interesting article about how many of the Maha women feel like the administration, is not maybe who they thought they were. Surprise, surprise. Before becoming a well-known influencer, Means went to Stanford University School of Medicine. Okay. Means has also worked as an advisor on health issues for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is now the Health and Human Services Secretary. Together, they focus on using diet, exercise, and lifestyle to prevent chronic diseases like diabetes and heart disease. I was waiting for where she says sunscreen is bad for you, because that's one of my favorite, and I talk about it nonstop. One of my favorite wellness influencer tips is don't wear sunscreen. Her nomination, it's hard for me to not even think for a second think that anyone believed that. Again, Baz Luhrmann made a point to say, if there's one thing you do, wear sunscreen. Anyway, her nomination has caused disagreement among doctors and health experts. Some worry that her ideas...
Didn't he also say that sunscreen will kill you too in that same song?
Well, he said, I think he said everything will kill you. I don't think he said sunscreen will kill you, but I know he goes back and forth about this will kill you, that won't. Some worry that I wish we could play it now, but we'll get dinged. But man, what a song. If you're too young to know what the hell I'm talking about, just do Baz Luhrmann. What was the full name of that?
Is it not just called sunscreen?
Oh, yeah, it is just called sunscreen. Duh. Some worry that her ideas are not backed by strong science or wide medical experience, but that hasn't stopped anyone. I added that myself. They say the Surgeon General needs deep experience in public health and emergency response. The U.S. Surgeon General is a leading voice in the advancement of public health. The Surgeon General commands the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Corps, made up of more than 6,000 public health professionals who promote disease prevention programs and public health science. Means has said she wants to focus on reducing chronic diseases through diet and lifestyle if she becomes Surgeon General. She also said she would address potential conflicts of interest between her business ventures and her government role. Wow. Wow. Oh, wowie, wow. All right. What are we gonna, and I mean, the last thing, again, there's a bunch of other things. None of these other things are pressing. I think we can push a lot of these to next week. But oh my God. one of my favorite short form news articles things that I scrolled through this week was just the DNC autopsy, where they were like, oh, I think it's Kamala's views on Gaza that cost her the election. I think it's many things, but I can't believe they needed to do an autopsy for that.
Did they do a DNC autopsy? I thought they were intentionally grounding the DNC, the autopsy into the 20.
They finally did it. As of a couple days ago, they reported.
Interesting.
They did it. Yep. Harris's decision to ignore the genocide in Gaza cost her, says a report from the Democratic National Committee. Obviously it's there could have been multiple things she could have done differently, including, running longer, that I think would have helped. But I guess what their autopsy is saying, those numbers alone would have put her over the finish line, which again, not surprising. Not surprising at all. But yeah, I guess the last thing we just want to mention this week is this is from The Hill. House appears on track to defeat resolution curbing Trump's war powers in Iran. The House appears to set to sink legislation designed to curb President Trump's use of military force in Iran, potentially lending the administration a boost as it escalates its threats against Tehran. The bipartisan war powers resolution, sponsored by Representatives Ro Khanna, Democrat from California, and Thomas Massie, Republican from Kentucky, aims to reassert Congress's authority to wage war by requiring Trump to win congressional approval before launching any strike against Iran. But Massie, so far, is the only House Republican to say he's supporting the resolution, and a small handful of Democrats, all of them close allies of Israel, are already lining up to oppose it. The combination sets the stage for the measure to fail in the Republican-controlled House, which would give Trump what amounts to a tacit authorization to conduct unilateral strikes as the president and other top officials signal that such an attack could be imminent. They're probably a week away from having industrial-grade bomb-making material. Steve Witkoff, a former real estate...
Oh, are they? Are they? It's a week now. Because a year ago, we had destroyed all weapons-grade capabilities that they had, and anyone saying anything other than that was making up fake news. Well, so in a year, they've rebuilt to weapons-grade? That's incredible.
Yeah, hadn't we put them like years and years behind or something?
We put them back in the 1920s.
Middle Ages. Yeah.
We bombed them to the Stone Age.
Yeah, a former real estate developer who now serves as Trump's special envoy to the Middle East told Fox News on Monday, Kana, Massey, and other supporters of the check on executive war powers maintain that they're merely firming up the use of force authorities delineated by the Constitution, which explicitly grants Congress the power, quote, to declare war.
This is literal basic separation of checks and balances, separation of power, and they're all laying out. Everyone, the Republicans and the Democrats are laying out, letting him do whatever because we can't say no to war with Iran. It's disgusting.
Thank you, Michael. Trump officials say that there's a 90% chance of strikes on Iran. He can't without Congress, Kana wrote last week on this social platform X. Yet Congress has a long history of ceding its war powers to the president, and that streak has extended into Trump's second term. Last summer, after Trump launched strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities, Senate Republicans blocked a bipartisan resolution limiting Trump's use of force in that country. The House has pursued similar measures with the same result. Over the last 3 months, the lower chamber has voted on 3 separate war powers resolutions, 2 related to military actions in Venezuela, and the 3rd governing the Pentagon's strikes on alleged drug traffickers in the Caribbean region. All resolutions were defeated by Trump's GOP allies. The most recent of those, which hit the floor in January, came in response to Trump's attack on Venezuela, which led to the capture and extradition of former Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Every Democrat and 2 Republicans, Representatives Massey and Don Bacon, Republican Nebraska, voted in favor, but it fell short by the thinnest possible margin, 215 to 215. The Iran resolution appears to have even less support. Bacon, for one, is opposed, and at least 2 House Democrats have also come out against it. Representatives Josh Gottmeier, Democrat New Jersey, and Jared Moskowitz, Democrat Florida, 2 of Israel's staunchest supporters on Capitol Hill, both say Iran's long support for terrorist groups and continued push for nuclear weapons mean Trump should be allowed broad discretion to counter the threat with force. The Kana-Massey resolution, they say, would undermine America's ability to respond to that threat. We respect and defend Congress's constitutional role in matters of war. Oversight and debate are absolutely vital, Gottheimer said in a statement released jointly with Representative Mike Lawler, Republican New York. However, this resolution would restrict the flexibility needed to respond to real and evolving threats and risks, signaling weaknesses at a dangerous moment. Supporters of the resolution disagree, arguing that Congress has a legal responsibility to check the president on matters of war. Some are also warning that strikes on Iran could evolve into another long and expensive conflict in the Middle East. We don't need to be doing it. We took out their nuclear capability, and we don't need a long and protracted war in the Middle East. Well, I guess we didn't take out their, Massey said Tuesday, this is not America first. House Minority Leader, everyone's favorite, Hakeem Jeffries, Democrat New York, is also questioning the legitimacy of Trump's claims.
What makes you think we didn't take out their nuclear program?
I thought we didn't.
What? They've never had a nuclear program. It's all been made up. Bibi Netanyahu has been saying for 25 years that they are a week away from having a bomb.
I see what you're saying. I see your logic here. I see what you're saying. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is also questioning the legitimacy of Trump's claims that Tehran poses a threat serious enough to demand urgent military action. He's pointing to Trump's own assessment that last year's strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities obliterated Tehran's weapons-making capabilities. We were told that the nuclear program in Iran had been completely and totally obliterated. Not my words, Donald Trump's words. And so now we're to believe that there is an extingent circumstance where Donald Trump may need to strike militarily in order to prevent Iran, presumably, from achieving its nuclear ambitions. That's kind of a good name for a band. Nuclear Ambitions. I kind of like that. That's like a punk rock band. Maybe only girls, though. Wait, what happened to Iran's nuclear program being completely and totally obliterated? He continued. Clearly, he was lying to the American people, or he's lying right now. Dun, dun, dun. It's unclear exactly when the War Powers Resolution will reach the floor. While the measure is opposed by Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican Louisiana, and other GOP leaders who control the chamber, Khanna has vowed to use procedural tools to sidestep that opposition and force a vote. Initially, Khanna said he'd launch the process this week, but this week is an unusual one on Capitol Hill. A massive snowstorm blanketing the Northeast on Sunday snarled travel back to Washington, great word, snarled, and prompted GOP leaders to postpone the House votes scheduled for Monday. The Democrats' annual issues retreat, which launches Wednesday afternoon, has cut the week short on the back end. And in between is Trump's State of the Union address Tuesday night, which consumed most of the media attention in the Capitol and beyond. Khanna said on Tuesday said that he now intends to force the vote next week. Instead, we're very confident it can pass, he added. Massey on Tuesday said the combination of factors will push the vote to next week at the earliest. This week was too short, he said. I hear you. The delay has raised questions about whether House lawmakers might be voting to contain Trump's military designs for Iran after he's already ordered strikes. Negotiators for the U.S. and Iran are meeting Thursday in Geneva in search of a deal that might prevent military action. But the Pentagon has built up a massive force in the Middle East, leading to widespread speculation that an attack could be just days away. Massey, for one, said the timing of the War Powers vote is less important than putting members of Congress on the record on the issue. Quote, if you bring it before they strike, they say, oh, it's premature. And if you bring it after they strike, they say, oh, it's too late, Massey said. There's never a time that's good enough for these folks. And on that note, everybody, thank you so much for joining us with this wild episode of Without a Country. Many hours awake. It was a fun one. It was great. Thank you so much for being here, Crystal, Mike. We love you. We love you guys. Mike, do you have anything that you need to promote to the good people of Without a Country?
Yeah, if you're listening live, Anxiety Attack is back at New York Comedy Club tomorrow night. Got a cool guest in from LA, Nina Tarr, as well as a host of other great comics. Come on out.
I'm on the show. Do you remember that?
What?
Do you remember them on the lineup?
Nope.
Oh my God.
Well, you are now.
I don't have to be on it, but I just could tell the way you were talking about it that you had forgotten that you booked me. You're insane.
I'm not gonna lie. I literally, they hit me up to be like, hey, who's on the show? And I just hit to search through my Instagram DMs and see who all I had on it. But yeah, Corinne Fisher, Nina Tarr.
I don't even want to do it.
Do you not?
I don't even want to do it now.
Oh,
it's literally in my thing. I mean, I could do it, but I mean,
come on, come do the show.
Well, you don't need me to do it. We'll talk about this off air. This is crazy.
Anxiety Attack back at Times Square, the Palladium, ArmoredLeague.com.
Insane. This is what I'm dealing with every single day of my life. All right, guys. Make sure if you want to support the show, patreon.com/withoutacountry. If you want to email the show, it's withoutacountrypodcast@gmail.com. Please make sure you're following me on social media. It is the most valuable thing you can do. I'm at Philanthropy Gal on Instagram, TikTok. I don't know if we're supposed to be using that or not. I put stop for a second, then I'm like, what we got to stop using everything. I can't even. I mean, I'm surprised they haven't told me to stop using my own clit, these liberals. I can't handle it anymore. I'm at my wit's end. Anyway, that's all. Yeah, all information. All hail to Christopher Fungi. Thank you so much. Remember, guys, misinformation's out there. You got to track it, and you're not better than a cult. You're never immune from joining a cult. Just know that. Just digest it. And thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. Bye.